Okay, good afternoon, welcome. I'm delighted to share with you information about the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. My name is Lauren Tuckley, and I am the director here in the Center for Research and Fellowships. So let me step back a little bit. The Research and Fellowships administers a number of programs that support students, whether undergraduate Georgetown students, graduate Georgetown students, and alumni in applying for opportunities that allow you to enhance, develop, and grow your academic and professional skill sets. So today we're going to talk about a really exciting program, that's the Fulbright program, and what the Fulbright offers you as a way to enhance your, credential yourself for your career, to kind of add value, a network, a cross-cultural experience. There's so many different ways that you can use Fulbright to grow your network and your skill set. And we're going to talk to you about that program today. We're going to help you think about ways that you can identify a program through the Fulbright kind of umbrella, larger, kind of organizational structure that fits your needs and essentially sort of helps enhance and accelerate your graduate education and your postgraduate career. Okay, so with that, you can see here we've copied over a little bit of the information from prior slides. So that's like why I have some things that you should know about me. My name is Lauren Tuckley. I'm an Aries. I don't know what that means. I'm from Texas. I really know what that means. If there are others from Texas here too, I always like to do like a shout out. The undergrads always find it really fun, but I'm going to make you guys do it too. So you can like maybe raise your hand if you're from Texas, and I can just feel like really at home and it won't make me so nervous when I'm presenting. And I like 90s on 9. I had a 90s kick there for like several years. And now I'm like really into, I don't know, maybe I'm living my best like younger life because now I'm back into XMU all the time. I went to Big Thief at the Anthem last week. So amazing. So I like music a lot. That gives you a little bit of something about me. So hopefully as I drone on, you can, like see that I'm a human too, and hang with me and don't leave until the presentation's done. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm going to turn over to Meg for her to say hello to you. We are your Fulbright program advisors, but actually, sorry, Meg, before I turn it to you to say hello, not on the call today, but also advising on the Fulbright program are Bill Cesato, the Deputy Director in the Center for Research and Fellowships. Primarily, he advises students on the study program, so those that are interested in applying for the study awards. Colleen Doherty is the Assistant Director here in the CRF. She primarily advises on English teaching assistantships. And then Meg and I do the whole thing. We advise on it all. And Meg, for the next several months, is going to be the lead Fulbright program advisor. She's going to be the person that's responding to your emails. When you email fulbrightgeorgetown.edu, she's going to be the person to you're going to want to sign up with her. She's going to have the expertise that you want as you're going through and doing things like country selection and so on. So without further ado, Meg, why don't you say hello?
Today, and this introduction is really geared towards graduate students. Of course, undergraduates are welcomed, but this one we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can leverage your graduate education or further it along through the Fulbright program. And I actually am an alum. I believe Lauren is an alum as well. So we're happy to talk towards the Q&A about our own experiences and how those fed into our graduate research agenda and everything else. So there's a lot of information we'll try to get through. And as Lauren said, we're going to go pretty quickly through it and still be comprehensive so that we'll have time for your specific questions. All right.
Yeah, tell them where you went, Meg.
Where did I go? I went to Albania. And then I ended up doing my dissertation, my PhD on education in Albania. So I actually used my Fulbright to prepare for my doctoral dissertation and my doctoral research. So that's something we can talk about. My PhD is in international and comparative education. So I'm big into the field of international education. Fulbright's awesome.
There we go. You're in good hands, guys. Okay, so let's get started. We always start here, not because it's a performative like about us slide, but because this is really important, not just in terms of you having a little bit of a historical, understanding for where this program comes from, but this is the ethos of the program. And this ethos becomes inflected in a number of places in one's application. And I want to start here why the Fulbright program was founded, because I think it helps remind you as an applicant the way that you might think about this is an opportunity to potentially do research, to take a study award, to have a cross-cultural experience. But at the heart of this is State Department funded opportunity that is designed to foster mutual understanding between American citizens and those of foreign countries. So this is a soft diplomacy. It is the largest cultural education exchange program that's funded by the federal government. So your taxpayer dollars are funding this exchange program. And so the implications for that mean that, okay, so yeah, you have a really solid research interest, idea, plan, those things, or they come together over the course of applying. But there are several places in the application where they're going to be also looking for that kind of holistic, person. What kind of person are you going to be abroad? How are you going to engage the host country community? And I want you to kind of keep that present as you're thinking about what kind of candidacy you're going to design and develop through your Fulbright application, because this is the opportunity for you to grow your cross-cultural skill sets and for you to have conversations and interactions with individuals that potentially may not as frequently have dynamic conversations or interactions with Americans abroad. So one of the important things, the implications for that in terms of eligibility, is that you have to be a US citizen by the time you would submit your final application. So you can't be going through the process if you have a green card and potentially you're looking for citizenship. So I just want to make sure that if you've joined us today, we just kind of start with that core eligibility criteria. It became, okay, so how did I said, oh, this is really important, cross-cultural exchange. Well, right after the Second World War, this was, a congressional act that basically identified the importance of understanding the global community and being a part of the global community. So there's a lot of reasons why that was valuable then as it is today. So other eligibility factors. Mag, do you want to jump in?
Sure. So these are the formal eligibility factors. U.S. citizenship, as Lauren mentioned, is required by the time of application. All of these criteria are to apply by the time of application, which means undergrads need to have their degree in hand. Recent grads, people in graduate programs, as you'll hear, you can apply and complete a graduate program through Fulbright. That's fine. Alumni are welcome. The only tail end requirement is that you cannot have a PhD in hand when you apply for the US student Fulbright program. If you do, and you're on this call, you would be referred to the Fulbright Scholar Program if you already have a PhD or will have it by the time of application. So anyone, as long as you have an undergraduate degree all the way through to not a completed PhD, but you might be in process, you're all eligible, as well as alumni. What else? So we'll talk a little bit about country-specific requirements that are based on what those countries are looking for. Lauren didn't mention it, but it's in addition to being soft US diplomacy, it's also a binational. There are binational commissions where the US government works directly with the Fulbright Commission in those countries. And so we are also beholden to their requirements and what they're looking for. And as you investigate which countries you will be applying to, you want to pay close attention to those country-specific requirements, because obviously you want to meet their requirements as well as these more general eligibility requirements. And of course, you'll see here there's no GPA requirement or cutoff, so this is open. This is not one of those programs that you have to have a 4.0. It's really open to that. So that's not going to be a qualifying restrictor on you. However, if you're going on to graduate, if you're already a graduate student, we assume that you are in that kind of, I don't know, Lauren, you said this very well last time, that usually it's between 3.5 and 4, but again, it's not a specific requirement.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people that have had like a 2.9, 2.8, and if you have a solid project, and a lot of times you're in graduate school, like the grading system in graduate school is a little more favorable in some ways than undergraduates. But if you potentially had an undergraduate record, or your GPA, for whatever reason, you had a pandemic, happened, it's about the project design. It's about your intent. It's about your being someone that is open and ready to engage with the host country. And that's the criteria. So there should be no reason why you have ambivalence if your record potentially doesn't show all the factors that you have to bring to bear in being a very high quality and successful applicant. So then what can you do? Well, one of the things that's sort of cool about Fulbright, but also a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, so we want to start here, is that you can do a ton of stuff. There are so many ways that you can make a Fulbright academic year abroad work for you. We're going to tease out some of those, but this is by no means exhaustive of the grant types that you have available to you. But essentially, what does Fulbright fund? The U.S. student program typically funds 9 to 10 months of your experience abroad doing one of 3 core activities. You're either serving as an English teaching assistantship, so teaching English as a foreign language in a foreign country. Oftentimes, unless you are in an education program right now as a graduate student, or you are interested in education policy or linguistics or teaching, the teaching opportunity may not be the best opportunity for you. Oftentimes, we have a lot of our rising seniors and 1 to 2 years out alums kind of be the sweet spot for the teaching assistantship. Those are part-time grants. Again, they're not actually doing the teaching necessarily. They're serving as an assistant to an English teacher. So by no means, we have graduate students all the time apply for those. Just keep that in mind about what your profile, what would be best fit for your profile now that you're potentially an advanced graduate student. Otherwise, you can do a 1-year study degree program through the Fulbright. We won't get into those today. We are presuming that you may want another master's degree or some sort of graduate degree, and we can talk about that. We do have ways that master's students have wanted another, master's degree abroad. That's fine. But really, we're going to talk primarily, we're going to couch our conversation today in the research grants, which is a large sort of umbrella term that can mean, scholarly projects of some sort or another. It can be very disciplinary specific, very academic oriented. You can also serve as a research assistant on an ongoing project if you found one abroad. You can also think about ways, I've seen very interesting multimedia journalist projects that are falling under that academic research category. So while we say research, there's not just one type of research award. That's really on you in the design process to talk about why you need that project, why executing that project continues to advance and further develop your skill set when it comes to research, teaching, et cetera. So I want everyone to bear in mind that this is one fully funded academic year and you can put in one application. So this is not something where you can pick 5 and apply for one. You have to pick one grant type, one country, you get one shot at this, right? That said, there are hundreds of grants in a number of countries. This should say 2,000 grants in 150 countries. I think our 0 dropped a little bit there, okay? Grant types, again, like I said, are kind of broken down into these main research, teaching, study categories. I do want to highlight that every now and again, while you're looking through the catalog, and hopefully at the end of this session, we'll go to the website and I can show you a few things, you might start seeing a few of these sort of like special awards. For example, in Taiwan, you can be a debate coach. In Mexico, you can do a professional internship. Through the Nat Geo program, you can do digital storytelling. Number of countries allow you to do performing arts grants. Those are not as numerous, but they are out there. We're not going to get into those today. Those are also very specific and particular awards. If you have more interest in those special awards, you're going to want to do a one-on-one advising session because they're a little niche. All right. I'll just do this one. So again, summary. For the study research grants, there's over 900 of these in over 140 countries. And we have the English teaching opportunities. There are a few more of those in half as many countries. That said, so we have 2,000 awards happening nationally. We have about 10,000 applicants, between 9 and 10,000 applicants applying nationally. You are competing not in the full pool of 10,000. You are competing in the country-based specific category, either research, teaching, or study that you're applying for. So your true competition is not the entire pool, it's those that are applying for the same award that you're applying for. That means that your competitiveness can range between 5% likelihood to 50% to 75% to sometimes we have countries that have more spots than there are places, right? We can get into how to identify those and how to measure the likelihood of your success based on your country options. There's ways to do that. That's why we're also here as your advisors. But just keep that in mind when you're thinking about what real competition looks like, because it depends on what you're applying for and where you want to go. All right, Meg.
No, I was just going to say also in the previous slide to emphasize the September 1st deadline, because that, and we'll come back to that by the end of the presentation, but that is a really important key date by which all of your materials would be due. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'll focus on this one. So this slide kind of breaks down a little bit the different kinds of award options that may be interesting to graduate students. So there is this category of named awards, and there's several of them in terms of, and named awards refer to a specific institution. These are institutions that have a relationship with the Fulbright Commission in their country, as well as the U.S. Fulbright Commission. So you will be applying for these named awards to the institution to complete most likely a graduate degree. So there may be multiple grants on those named awards, and the funding is set aside for the grant, different components of the institutional degree program there. Some of it covers everything, and some of it covers part of it. So you really have to look closely at each of these named awards, and these are within the country context. Open study, we'll talk more about that, but that is basically, you would be determining the institution that you would be affiliated with. And so then you would have to make an independent research proposal. This Open Study Award will not cover the cost of tuition fees. However, it will cover travel and living expenses. But for these graduate degree awards, they're really looking for an academic question that would be addressed through the particular program to which you're applying, as well as a strong case for why you need to go to this country, that particular country, to complete this research program. So it shouldn't be something that you could address in the United States context. It has to have that international component and be directly relevant to the country context to which you are applying. So there are general benefits that are that for all Fulbright awards. For instance, the round trip transportation, you'll be receiving funding for room and board and incidental costs. Your basic health benefits, accident and sickness. A lot of people choose to get supplemental, and there is a line for urgent situations or crises. Some countries you get additional benefits, including a research allowance, which is probably pretty modest. There could be some kind of enrichment activities or other kinds of, some of them are affiliated with an additional grant for language support. And the ETAs, the teaching assistantships, also provide access to TESOL training as part of your award. So that's, if that is an area where you want to pursue, you would get that additional benefit. And that's under the language study programs as well. And then most of them include as well some kind of orientation, either in country or pre-country, pre-departure. You get those orientations to help with the kind of cultural adaptation. So we didn't really discuss this very much, but one criteria that may be very important for you as you select your country is your level of language ability. You need to check in terms of the country that you would be applying to, what is their language requirement. Some countries and even some graduate program within countries require language fluency or a high level of language proficiency. Others, there's no language requirement. So this is a big deciding factor in terms of where you choose to apply. If you do have a language ability at the higher level of proficiency or fluency, this would be most likely an advantage for you in applying to those countries, but it shouldn't limit your selection. You're still open to apply for any country that you want. Just keep in mind what those language requirements are.
All right, so we will go to the website in a second. I want to just really illustrate the way you start searching is often by either grant type or country, regional location. So usually one either has a grant type in mind, and then from there, they're looking at individual countries based on these 6 world regions where they might start the process of looking through what you might consider the award catalog. Now, let me talk about the application components for the study awards. We're going to focus on those. You have an online application that if you know you're going to apply for a Fulbright, you're on the listserv, you're interested, go ahead and start your online application. You can do that by going to the application option on Fulbright's website, on the US Student Program website. The one thing that you want to do as soon as you create an account, you could even do that right now because you have lots of browsers, right? You could go on Fulbright's website, click on their application, design and start an application. That way you're in our system. Put Georgetown University down as your endorsing institution. And that way you're on our radar. We know you're interested in applying, and it kind of gets you started, even if you haven't yet finalized all of the grant selection details. In any case, once you move through the process, you've selected the country you'd like to go to, you have your grant in mind, you're starting your proposal, you want to know what else is required of the application, you're going to have to put together 2 separate essays. One is called the Statement of Grant Purpose. It's essentially a 2-page single space Times New Roman 12-point font, no flexibility in terms of other font choices or stylistic features. It's a pretty simple and straightforward document. It can't be any more than 2 pages. It cannot have a bibliography, and so on and so forth. And essentially this just describes the project that you will be carrying out in country, your research design, right? We have a number of, well, we have hundreds of successful proposals, probably to any country that you may have an interest in going. We've had a Georgetown Fulbright alum. There could be a few out there, but chances are we've had in the last 5 or 6 years a winner in the countries that you are most likely interested in going to. So those are available for you to review if you'd like to see what a successful winning Fulbright application looks like. We invite you to come to the Center for Research and Fellowships at 3607 O Street Northwest. And anytime you want, we have like a little conference room area. You can browse our binders to get an idea of what we call the Statement of Grant Purpose genre. We will also have writing workshops later on in the summer for those that would like a little bit more hands-on, sort of an instructional opportunity for you to learn more about the essay component. In addition to the Statement of Grant Purpose, you are required to write a personal statement. The personal statement is essentially a motivation document. A really important way that many have understood the personal statement is displaying and talking about an example, a story, something that demonstrates to the committee one of 2 things, sometimes both. And that would be why you're applying for the particular project that you would like to conduct in country, and or what is it about that country or that culture that draws you to want to have that cross-cultural engagement. So that's usually how the personal statement functions in relation to the Statement of Grant Purpose. I want you all right now to, burn this in your mind that you should write your Statement of Grant Purpose first. The personal statement is a supportive element. If your project is not on point, if your project is not feasible, if that is not, firing on all, however many cylinders things fire on, right? Then the personal statement really doesn't matter too much. And you want that, use that personal statement strategically in tandem with the Statement of Grant Purpose. So you want your project proposal thing written first. Then you want to think about, what do I need to write about in my personal statement that supports, supplements, and enhances what I have in the Statement of Grant Purpose? Like, what of the Fulbright criteria wasn't covered because I needed to talk about the research elements, but then I can think about strategically using my personal statement for. So a lot of people, because it's 1 page and because you know yourself, hopefully we know ourselves, people want to start with that personal statement and they end up, having to redo it all anyway. So really focus on project design, really focus on, having conversations with recommenders. There's a lot you can do right now, and let personal statement drafting be one of the stages that you start after those other stages of your application are kind of off and running. In countries where there's a foreign language requirement, and many countries that do not have English as a spoken language will have some sort of in-country, whether it's novice, intermediate, or advanced, that would be required. So you're going to need to ensure that you have completed your language evaluation. People are always questioning, what's a language evaluation? You select the person that you are going to have evaluate your language. Usually they're a language professor, but you're identifying the most appropriate person that you register in your application system and in your application online, right? They get your reference, or the person that will be providing you with a language reference will get questions about your language competencies that are basically like, bubbling in domains of speaking, reading, writing, thinking, something like this. There's 4 domains, and you're either novice, beginner, intermediate, advanced, or distinguished, and then they're just plugging that in, right? So you're not sitting an examination. You cannot use a school foreign service like, proficiency exam in lieu of this. It's somebody that can come in and pretty much assess you on those 4 criteria. We will also on the listserv circulate what one of those forms look like, so you are empowered to ask the right person, right? You will also need 3 letters of recommendation. It's best if those letters of recommendation can come from people that can attest to your ability to do the project that you've designed, that you have the background that's necessary to implement the project, and that you have, kind of the fortitude or character to be able to move forward. And as research on the ground will demonstrate, if you haven't done that before, it changes pretty quickly. So being able to iterate, to innovate, to continue to pursue your question. So those would be things that they would want to see from recommenders. Typically, those are going to be academic recommenders, although not always. There are plenty of ways that you're doing research related activities or research adjacent activities in your professional domain. And if there's a lot of crossover between your project design, your skill sets, and what you hope to do in country with your professional work, you are welcome to have a professional recommendation. It's about what they are saying in relation to your project, not necessarily like the seat that they hold in relation to you. You'll need to submit your transcripts, and also in almost all instances, research projects require a letter of affiliation. A letter of affiliation is a document that attests to the support that you have from someone in the country with the expertise that you would, hopefully make use of when you're in country. A lot of individuals end up soliciting this through the application process. So of course, you're applying to a foreign country to do a research project. You probably don't necessarily have a Rolodex of people in a foreign country you've never been to ready to, send you letters of affiliation. We have workshops on how to get those, how to use your network. Essentially, they're not your research overlord. They're just someone that is there to sort of lend a helping hand. You can reach out to if you have questions when you're in country. And it just shows to the assessors that you're kind of building up your own support network, because Fulbright is not like a guided tour. They are funding you and you're out there and you're doing your thing. So you kind of have to show a little bit of independence. And one way that that's done is through the letter of affiliation. We also have letters of affiliation appointments. So there's lots of ways that we can help you with the individual components to put forward the strongest application possible. I'm not going to get into this right now, although you just need to have, 3. You need to ask early, and you also need to be specific in what you're asking for. You also need to make sure that they're aware of the timeline, which we'll get to in a second, your recommenders, that they know how to submit their letter for you, and that they have seen a draft of your research project, okay? So let me get back to affiliations. One of the best places to start your search is to talk to a faculty member or your research network to look up Fulbright alumni, and often start looking for academic specialties at institutions in the host country that might be able to, basically it's sort of brokering a relationship with someone abroad that can advise and guide you on the affiliation. In almost all instances for research projects, you need to put forward 1. There is spots for 3. If you get 3 that are relevant, you should submit all 3. You should make it your goal to get 3. We have many people every year that put the 1 forward and are successful, but there's 3 slots. And I say there's an extra slot. We want to take up that real estate if we have the opportunity to do so, so long as there's relevancy to your project and they're not basically duplicates from the same research team all saying the same thing. Okay. All right, Meg.
Okay, so one of the really wonderful aspects of this is applying through Georgetown University. And that is why we have the September 1st deadline, which is about more than a month before the national deadline. But you will be going through Georgetown University, and that means you will have the value added of all of the review process and advising process that we provide at Georgetown. The term, it's an endorsement, it's an institutional endorsement saying that Georgetown University endorses your candidacy. And that means that the Center for Research and Fellowships and the whole team, including mentors and advisors, are going to help you get to a point where this endorsement is really, really valuable. But it's non-selective. And I know that we've discussed this before in the sense that there is no there is no rejection of this endorsement. You are going to get this endorsement, and we are going to help you get this endorsement. So you submit all your materials by September 1st, and then you go through a review process and work with your campus mentor, and there is an on-campus review, and then your full application will be submitted in time through the Georgetown to meet in time for the national deadline. And maybe, I don't know if Lauren wants to add to that at all.
Yeah, I'll sort of just jump in here because it kind of falls in line here with the timeline. Like you're on the list now. You want to watch, well, you've attended today. One of the things that we require before you sign up for an advising appointment is that you have gone through the information session. So this now counts as you're completing that first step. If you have not already, we highly encourage you to self-enroll in the Canvas course site. While you don't necessarily need to come to our in-person workshops or meet with us several times in order to put forward a robust application, we have the resource that allows you to sort of a self-guided application process, if you'd like, in our Canvas course. Although at the same time, I do think it's worth at least having a conversation. One of the most important conversations you can have is the first one where you're determining the country, location, and the grant type. There is a lot of internal information that we have built up that we will provide you with when it comes to advice and guidance on country selection. There are many places you could probably conduct a research project unless you're very, very country specific in your expertise or academic focus. And the competition is not all the same. We have a little bit of an ability to offer you feedback and guidance on what you're looking at, where your skill set might most be advantageous for you. So if I was going to say there was any one appointment that's really essential outside of maybe making sure you come to those workshops, the writing workshops, I would say having that appointment where you're just checking in with us to talk about the country that you've identified. And in most cases, when you sit down in an advising appointment with me, at least, I'm like, okay, great. You want to go do your Fulbright, research in Argentina. That's great. What else did you think about? Where else could you go? And if in that conversation, we end up back at Argentina as your primary source, that is great. We've vetted all the potential other options I might think you need to have considered. And then of course, this is your application. We don't dictate to you where you should apply, but we will advise you and guide you to the best of our abilities so that the Fulbright can be, you have the best chance of putting forward a successful application. We've been pretty good at that. To that end, Georgetown University is, right now ranked second nationally in terms of Fulbright US student producing institutions. Prior to that, we were the first in the nation, and the year before that, we were first in the nation, and the year going forward, we will endeavor to be first in the nation once again. So we have a lot of alumni, we have a very big support system, we have a machine, we have a process here. So we hope that you will take all advantage in applying with and through us, so that you can make use of our advising resources, our expertise, and help you put the best application forward. But to do all that, you have to put all of your application materials together. That's the essays, the language evaluation, the 3 letters of recommendation, your online application by September 1st. You will ask me a million times if it's really for sure, do I need to submit in the online system by September 1st? Yes. Everything, all the pieces, like it's polished and done by September 1st. Why? Because then we pair you with a faculty staff mentor that will read your application, provide you feedback, and meet with you, give you feedback after your revision, and let you revise again. So if you will do a whole bunch of really hard and thoughtful work before September 1st, what you get in terms of getting support from this office by having someone critique your proposal, ask you questions, push you to put forward an even better application, will make your application that much more solid when it's time to submit a second final time in mid-October, when it finally goes to Fulbright, and then goes through two review processes. The in-country side, so the US makes a first cut, then your application, as Meg referred to, goes to the binational level or the embassy-based level, where those semi-finalists are then evaluated and selected. And you would find out about your grant, which would typically begin in September 2023. You would find out about this time next year, maybe a little earlier, anytime between March, April, and May of 2023, you would find out about the outcome of this application cycle, okay? these are the things that we offer you. I won't get into those right now. I think we will stop the recording and we will go to questions. Unless Meg, is there anything you wanted to jump in with that I missed?
No, I think that's great. And I think a lot of it, what I would add, it will come up in questions regarding affiliation and application processes. So yeah.
All right. Well, we have